like to call this meeting to order at 6:30. Declarations of interest. Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to put up for a conflict of interest on 10A, the Storm Fisher presentation. And the reason is they would have a direct impact on my job on the property, as they deal in water and wastewater, unlike the other projects there. Thank you.
Thank you. That's duly noted. And anyone else?
It is a 10A, 10B.
What is it?
10B.
10B,
10B.
Councillor, not 10A, 10B.
NB, sorry, thank you.
Okay, we got it. Okay, adoption of agenda. Mover, Councillor DeRose, seconded by Councillor Longo, that council approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Adoption of the minutes. Mover, Councillor Neal, seconder, Councillor Kenny, that council approve the minutes as presented January 18th, 2022. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Mayor's report. Winter snow removal friendly reminder. As the city continues to clear roadways and sidewalks of excessive snow, please remember vehicles parked on the roadway prevent maintenance crews from clearing the snow effectively. Let's do our part to keep roads clear and safe for everyone. Also, please clear sidewalks of snow as well, so pedestrian traffic can travel safely in our neighborhoods. This is especially important during the pandemic when outdoor activities have increased. As a City of Thorold resident, you can also assist by ensuring fire hydrants in your immediate area are free and clear of snow, which greatly assists Thorold Fire and Emergency Services in event of an emergency. Once again, our Public Works and Community Service group stepped up during the biggest storm since the blizzard of '77 and showed why they are the best, and we thank you. On Thursday, January 20th, I attended a virtual conference call with Ontario Premier Ford, Health Minister Elliott, Finance Minister Bethan Foley, and Municipal Affairs and Housing Minister Clark regarding an update on the public health measures. The province outlined the steps to cautiously and gradually ease public health measures. These steps began yesterday, January 31st. A full breakdown of the gradual reopening measures can be found on the provincial website at news.ontario.ca. Updates can also be found on the Niagara Region and City of Thorold websites and social media links. On Friday, January 21st, Welland Mayor Frank Campion, Port Colborne Mayor Bill Steele, and I met virtually with Niagara Centre Federal MP Vance Badaway and discussed issues affecting our communities and potential funding opportunities. As a follow-up from this meeting, city staff will work closely with Vance's office to deliver on any potential funding opportunities. On Thursday, January 27th, CAO Manoj Dalwaria and I met virtually with Niagara Centre Provincial MPP Jeff Birch and discussed the importance of another round of COVID funding, heads and beds funding, local community issues, and potential funding opportunities, especially ones that can combine our federal and provincial partners. The City of Thorold, in partnership with Rolling Meadows Niagara, has opened the new outdoor ice rink located near the intersection of Barker Parkway and Honeycrisp Way in Rolling Meadows subdivision. Free outdoor skating is open to the public from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., weather permitting. The rink will be restricted to hockey use from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. daily and skating from 2 to 8 p.m. To ensure public safety, everyone is asked to follow all public health safety measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Please refer to the ice rink signage for further information and safety practices. Province of Ontario Minister of Transportation Carolyn Mulroney announced that the City of Thorold is eligible to receive an allocation of $272,810 under the 2021-22 gas tax program. Also, the Provincial Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Steve Clark, announced that the City of Thorold will receive funding under the third intake of the Municipal Modernization Program. Under the third-party review stream, funding up to $152,640 towards City of Thorold vehicle and equipment utilization review. Under implementation project stream, funding of up to $134,934 towards the City of Thorold's records management modernization. Thank you, Premier Ford and the Ontario government for this important funding. Nominations are now open for the 2022 Niagara Impact Awards. The Niagara Impact Awards recognize community members who have made a positive impact on life in Niagara. Do you know an individual, business, or community organization that has gone above and beyond to help make living in Niagara a little better for others during the past year? Submit your nomination by February 14th at 4 p.m. Go on to the website niagararegion.ca/impact awards. At the council meeting on Wednesday, January 26th, we approved the 2022 operating and capital budgets. We met on Tuesday, January 25th, and concluded our budget deliberations on Wednesday, January 26th. This was made possible by the tremendous amount of work city staff across all departments did in advance when putting the budget package together. The package was distributed to council prior to the Christmas break, which allowed everyone the necessary time to prepare and ask any questions or request further information. All information regarding the budget and budget proceedings has been posted on the city website at thorold.ca. Once again, I would like to thank council and staff for their professionalism and dedication throughout the 2022 budget process. GoVax will be hosting 2 more vaccination clinics at Holy Rosary Hall on Thursday, February 17th and Friday, February 18th from 10 to 6 p.m. both days. These are pop-up style, walk-in style clinics. There will be a PIC number 4 Public Information Center regarding South Niagara Falls wastewater solutions on Wednesday, February 9th from 6 to 7. You can register for this virtual presentation on the Niagara Region website. Further information and the required link are also posted on the City of Thorold website under the latest news on the main page. The Niagara Region is working with the City of Niagara Falls and City of Thorold on an important study for a new wastewater treatment plant in South Niagara Falls. They are studying how we can make the overall system better. This project will have positive impacts for our city. Today is the start of Black History Month. As Regional Chair Bradley stated, a time to honor, celebrate, and reflect on the stories, experiences, and accomplishments of Black Canadians here in Niagara and across the country. The 2022 theme is February and Forever, celebrating Black history today and every day, which focuses on recognizing the daily contributions Black Canadians make to Canada. In closing, please continue to follow all public health safety measures. This continues to be extremely important. And that's the end of my mayor's remarks. So up first, we have presentations. Aaron Reisling and Francis Hellworth from United Way Niagara are up first, and I'll turn this over to Aaron and Francis.
Good evening, Mayor Ugolini, council members, and staff. I do have a presentation. Am I able to share my screen?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Right now it says host disabled.
Is it? What's that? We'll get you on in a sec here. They're
Okay.
just gonna.
So my name is Erin Rising. I'm the program coordinator of the Niagara Community Garden Network, and Francis Hallworth, the CEO of United Way Niagara, joins me here today. I'm just going to pull up my screen.
There we go.
Thank you for hosting us to present about community gardens. This summer, we sent representatives at each municipality in Niagara a published position statement. The statement focuses on increasing barrier-free access to food security through community gardens, the role of Niagara region municipalities in advancing policy and reducing barriers. This position paper was endorsed by the Niagara Food Security Network, the Niagara Poverty Reduction Network, and Niagara Region Public Health and Emergency Services. Today, we're here to follow up on that statement. For decades, United Way Niagara has been investing in a myriad of food security solutions. Their focus areas include funding a broad range of food programs, facilitating the food security network, which is composed of more than 100 individuals and community organizations. In Thorold, we work with Community Care of St. Catharines and Thorold and other partners, agencies, and local faith groups involved in food and meal programs. And most recently, United Way has become the home for the Niagara Community Garden Network, funding the delivery of Community Garden Network, their programs and advocacy work. United Way firmly believes that community gardens represent one of the long-term sustainable solutions to food security in our community. Our Niagara Community Garden Network is a collaborative network of food security leaders working together to build thriving community gardens. Our mandate is to help provide our communities access to healthy, affordable food and resources to grow skills and engage their community through gardening. We believe everyone deserves to easily access nutritious and affordable, healthy food. Collectively, we have over 40 organizations and groups offering more than 1,200 garden plots to individuals, families, and organizations in Niagara. In our gardens, we see that growing and sharing food transforms communities and addresses a broad range of environmental, health, and social issues. They're vital outdoor hubs where people can come together to grow and learn, share stories, recipes, culture, and connect with each other, all of which are especially important during these challenging times. Community gardens, for anyone unfamiliar, are essentially land that's gardened collectively by groups of people on either public or private land. Gardeners grow a variety of vegetables, herbs, fruit, and flowers in individually managed or shared plots, often with common goals such as building community, beautifying neighborhoods, improving food security, or as educational or therapeutic resources. Because food and food systems are central to so many aspects of community life, a growing number of local governments in Canada have identified community gardens as a way to help them create healthier, sustainable, and more resilient communities. Community gardens promote healthy, inclusive neighborhoods, support overall physical, mental, and well-being, offer unique opportunities for education and skill development, build improved social connectedness, community, and sense of purpose. They offer environmental benefits such as decreased greenhouse gas emissions, raised environmental awareness and waste reduction, and overall improved nutrition and food security with better access to healthy, affordable, locally grown food, which is especially important now with low-income neighborhoods with poor access to healthy fruits and vegetables. Many gardens have either dedicated plots where gardeners can grow collectively for local food banks, or gardeners share excess produce with emergency food programs. Just a note about food security in Niagara. So food security is considered a basic human right, yet almost 60,000 people in Niagara are considered food insecure, experiencing limited access to nutritious, affordable, and culturally appropriate food. The Government of Canada states income-related food security is an important public health issue in Canada and a key social determinant of health. Community gardens act as a promising strategy to decrease food insecurity because of their ability to provide access to nutritious food, often serving our most marginalized and vulnerable populations in Niagara. The importance of all these impacts increases in times of uncertainty. The social and economic impacts of COVID-19, along with climate change and the rising cost of food, make community gardens an effective part of a range of solutions to build greater resilience and stability in our communities. A community garden that is led by the community it serves and supported by local government is more likely to meet its needs and be successful in the long term, each community with unique and diverse needs and contributing their unique strengths and assets. This requires collaborative partnerships between local governments, residents, and community groups. So with our community garden network, essentially our role is to bring people together to support one another. So we provide ongoing support to residents, volunteers, and community garden coordinators. We facilitate this group to come together regularly to collaborate, share resources, learn from, and support one another. Together, we're stronger and we can better achieve our goals to build stronger communities, promote food security, reduce the effects of poverty, and expand our collective impact in Niagara. We partner with Niagara Region Public Health and Niagara Regional Housing to advance food security and access. We believe that by working across sectors, we can create significant change for vulnerable people and change our system. Public Health, slide issues. Public Health Ontario recently released an evidence brief called Municipal and Community Level Interventions to Promote Sustainable Food Systems. And it states municipalities are positioned to intervene in their local food system and can enact policies and programs that build a culture around local food initiatives. Local government policies can indicate a range of commitments to community gardens, from high-level resolutions that support gardens in principle to specific policies which designate land for gardens and allocate resources for gardens. Community gardens can be integrated into many types of planning processes, including land use bylaws, park master plans, healthy living strategies, sustainability resolutions, climate action strategies, and neighborhood planning. Currently, many of Niagara's municipalities do not have written community garden policies. Now is the time to act. Niagara municipalities can create policies that empower citizens and provide them with barrier-free access to food through community gardens. The best practices and policies we encourage and recommend Niagara municipalities to develop specifically relate to land use and access. Community gardens require suitable spaces that are publicly accessible with access to water and on transportation routes. We recommend waiving or reducing fees. We recommend, if there are any fees around, for example, water use, that the municipality waive these or provide a stipend as a result of the fees imposed. Insurance, entering into a land use agreement with municipalities requires considerations around liability, which can be a significant barrier for resident-led initiatives. Many local governments are covering gardens under their own Parks Department insurance. For example, the City of St. Catharines recently made this shift over the last couple months, so that now any kind of resident-led projects in parks such as ice rinks or community gardens will fall under their insurance policy, and they sell it back to the community groups. Commitment to community gardens with a reasonable annual investment is recommended, so municipalities can support gardens through allocating funding in the annual budget for capital expenses related to the establishment of new gardens and supporting existing gardens. And I do have a slide here that's a sample of the City of St. Catharines 2021 sample annual investment for community gardens. We recommend ongoing program evaluation and development. So we seek to establish a working relationship with municipal staff to effectively support residents in these projects and for ongoing evaluation and development of resources. This is an opportunity for Niagara to come together to advance food security and food justice through community gardens. The Niagara Community Garden Network and United Way Niagara, in partnership with the Niagara Food Security Network, would be delighted to provide support and work with staff to transition to inclusive and barrier-free approaches. Thank you for your time.
Okay, we'll open the floor for questions. There any questions for Aaron? Go ahead, Councillor Decker.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. Aaron, that was a great presentation. So if someone wanted to start one of these community gardens, would they contact the United Way to get it going, or how does it work?
Absolutely, they could reach out to me. My contact information I can put in the chat box. It's Aaron@niagaracommunitygardens.ca, and we can certainly provide support and resources through the process and help get that off the ground, and even help with that facilitation role with the city to sort of set up, find land, establish a land use agreement, and work together on that.
And do any of the other municipalities have this initiative started already, or?
City of St. Catharines is sort of probably the most advanced at this point. They've got policies in place, a budget. We work very closely with their staff on a regular basis to identify opportunities. If residents reach out looking for garden space, we have these relationships that we can collaborate on. We've essentially been doing this presentation throughout Niagara, and we've got a lot of really good interest and uptake. So,
yeah, no, I think that's a great idea and a great opportunity, you know, for people to come together and start something new that'll benefit a lot of people in the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions for Aaron or Francis? Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Aaron, if I could, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Aaron. Aaron, what are usually the size of land, like a plot of land? Obviously, it needs to be there where there's water, public access. You're supplied all that. What's usually the plot of land? An acre of land, half acre of land?
Really, they can be in very small spaces. So there's even some Niagara Regional housing buildings that may even have 5 to 10 small plots for residents who are interested in gardening. And then we have even larger ones where, for example, Project Share in St. Catharines has a garden that has 80 plots, and they're quite large, and it takes over a portion of a football field, an abandoned football field. So there's a whole range in terms of what kinds of spaces can be used.
Okay, I think that because I actually did see something that you mentioned in the Hamilton area where between apartment buildings where they have the pots, and there might be 15 or 20. So we could be looking at maybe more than one location that this could be a community event. That's what you're looking at, type of deal. So if apartment building, for example, had an allocated piece of land, we could coordinate with them, get that apartment building on it, and another one type of deal.
Absolutely.
Because most people, I would suspect, that live in apartments are probably the ones that are most successful and in need of the most nutrition and the food supply.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do try to strategically locate gardens close to, dense residential areas where people maybe don't have access or don't have a little bit of land where they can grow. So yeah, it's a great location to have them in apartment buildings or near them anyway.
Okay, thank you very much. Great presentation.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Councillor. Councillor Kenny.
Yes, we actually do have one of these in Thorold. I don't know if many of the councilors know, but at 61 Ormond, it's not a community one, but some of the residents have started their own little garden there, and they have a little fence around it, and seems to work out pretty good for them over there. I think it's a great initiative. Maybe we should ask staff for a place where we could set aside and do something for anybody else that would like to get involved.
Thank you. I'll ask Jeff if he wants to comment on that. Go ahead, Jeff, our Director of Public Works and Community Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to remind everyone that last September, we brought a report to Council looking to establish a pilot project on the Monsignor Clancy school property. And directed us to work with the school board. They've since approved the location, subject to entering into an agreement to address some access and other issues that to make us move ahead with the project. We're working with the Horticultural Society and this group here, Community Garden Network. There will be a valuable resource for us to move ahead. We hope to have everything in place by May of this year. And once we work through the details, we'll be back to council sometime in March or April to give us enough lead time. So we'd like to go through the pilot program first, just to see what the interest is across the community and the best model for delivering this program. And I'm sure that the experience we can get from the region will help us determine the best locations and some of the tools we need to manage these effectively.
Thank you, Jeff. And so that we'll be getting a report back, Councillor Kenny. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor DeRose, go ahead.
Thanks. I was going to talk about that too. Thanks, Jeff, for getting us updated on that. Aaron, great presentation. I'm a gardener. Learned when we were poor when I was little, when my parents came from Italy. And I'd also like to maybe reach out to you one day, because I think there's even a different concept that I have, is that I know myself, I've got lots of veggies that are left over from the garden, and I've given them to people before, but we can maybe try to converse about it. I don't know if there's an appetite for people sharing the extras, because I know there's a lot of European farmers in Thorold that are excellent gardeners, and that might be an option too, just to cut down on any external costs. And Aaron, do you have any rough idea, like say just a rough average plot with the city of St. Catharines? Do they provide you with any numbers of costs?
Like cost to the city, or?
Yes. Yeah, it's just a cost to run one of the plots.
Oh, I see. Well, so typically the way it works is a gardener would rent a plot for the season, and the plot fee would typically be around $20, and the size of the plot would range. But if somebody came forward and couldn't afford that fee, usually garden coordinators will give leniency and just waive that fee for them. So there is a large garden in St. Catharines on city property in a park downtown, which is wonderful. And there's 60 plots on site. And honestly, they could keep expanding and those plots would fill instantly. The city does provide water access. They're there, if supports are needed around cleanup and wood chips and things like that as well. But as far as the cost to the city, I'm not sure.
And just one last question for Jeff. Jeff, do you have any, I know we talked about it before, and I know just even getting the water at Clancy from the school is going to be challenging to coordinate. Do you have any rough, or should we just wait till your report to come up with some numbers and if it's feasible?
Yeah, I would like to give you, I guess, a little bit more information about that. It should be done in a report form, but there is municipal water there at that location. There's good access. It's in the middle of a residential area. And there'll be some issues that we have with security and so on and so forth. We'll learn from those experiences, but then there's opportunities to look at other properties as some of the other councillors have mentioned.
Yeah, and yeah, because I could see when the schools close, it'll be hard to deal with things like water and that. But thank you very much. Thanks for your answers.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further questions? Seeing none, I want to thank Aaron and Francis for your presentation tonight, and we look forward through our Public Works and Community Services group to work closely with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, we have our second presentation, which is Brandon Moffat and Matthew Small from Storm Fisher. Brandon, welcome, and is Matthew here as well? Both of you are here. Okay, and you have a presentation, PowerPoint, so you're gonna be able to. They're gonna be able to share it. No problem. Okay, you're up and running. So go ahead.
Good. Thank you for your time today, Mr. Mayor. And thanks everybody for taking the time. Just want to make sure everybody can see my screen.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So yeah, no, thanks again for the time today. I'm Brandon Moffat, Vice President of Development with Storm Fisher, based in London, but work throughout Ontario and other parts of North America. Matt Small is our lead project developer on our power to gas infrastructure. And so today it's just an information kind of presentation on what we're proposing to do in Thorold. And so I'm going to take you through this and happy to answer any questions that anybody may have as I'm going through it. I'm going to come back to the first slide in a moment, but today I'm going to introduce Storm Fisher, who we are and what we do. I'm going to introduce what I mean by power to gas. People are always asking kind of what that is, and then what we're proposing in the city, and I'll take you through that as well. So Storm Fisher is a renewable gas infrastructure developer and operator. We're based in London. We have operated infrastructure for a number of years and been successful entrepreneurs and technology developers here in Ontario. We've experienced in anaerobic digestion, the sort of waste to value and things like that. But in this case, really what we're proposing is turning surplus electricity that leaves the province of Ontario in negative pricing. So we as the ratepayers in Ontario pay to move that power to other jurisdictions. And we're turning that electricity into hydrogen. And then we're taking that hydrogen with CO2 from local industrial facilities and making methane. So renewable natural gas that we can inject into the pipeline. So rather than being a battery or some other type of facility, we are taking kilowatts or electricity and turning it into gas and using the natural gas infrastructure to be able to store and utilize that zero carbon energy in a useful manner, which supports the ratepayers, but also is an environmental success story. We've been operating infrastructure in North America for quite a number of years, as I mentioned earlier. We have a staff now that are over 50 of engineers, finance, and other people that work within our team. And we take a technology agnostic approach to how we put our projects together. So it's not like it's necessarily our IP. We use the best in class technology from around the world to build our infrastructure and do that in an economically viable way. People likely know us from our anaerobic digestion facility in London, Ontario. So this is a $60 million facility that handles about 140,000 tons of organics a year to make renewable natural gas. The reason why I'm bringing this up is not because this is the type of infrastructure that we're proposing in Thorold. Organics are managed quite well within the region, but what it is the product that we make out of this facility. And renewable natural gas is a drop-in replacement for fossil natural gas, which means that we can help support both the local, regional, provincial, and federal sort of efforts to reduce our greenhouse gases. And what we found is that the market for renewable gas continues to grow and demand is outstripping supply. We need to find other ways to be able to produce this. And so what we did is we looked at our peers in other parts of the world and found a process called power to gas that works quite well. So it's very mature in the technology. It's just at the scale in the past maybe didn't work economic wise in North America, but now with a increased price for renewable gas because of the price of carbon, it becomes very important to building this infrastructure out to help us meet our goals. And so I just want to show you that we have been facilities at scale, and it's about the gas and just doing it a different way. Here's another example of some infrastructure we built in Ontario. We built this through COVID. So this is a facility in Drumbo. So you've got municipalities that we've worked in that know us quite well and can always connect you with. So you learn more about who we are and what we do. Today is really just a getting to know us session for yourselves as we start down the path on trying to develop the project. What I mean by that is there's lots of gates of things we need to do to put the project together. We need to engage with the Ministry of Energy. We need to engage with the IESO, Ministry of Environment, and others. And so this is just kind of one step along the way, but it's a very important step in engaging with yourselves. So power to gas, I mentioned this earlier. It provides an outlet for stranded or low-priced renewable electricity. It also provides the grid with very excellent responsiveness in the sense of we can shut off on a moment's notice. And so therefore we are not on peak when the province is using a lot of electricity. We are like the opposite of a peaking plant for electricity in the sense of we turn off. And what that does is allows us to make a relatively rare source of low carbon or zero carbon methane. And so you can see on the bottom, we use electricity and water and CO2 as our inputs. We then produce methane, hydrogen, or low carbon steam that can be used for industrial uses or district heating and things like that. And so a facility in Thorold we're proposing would be in the order of 100 megawatts. And it would cost about $200 million to build that infrastructure is what we're pegging the CapEx at right now. So we've been evaluating where and how we could do this type of infrastructure across North America. We completed some feasibility study work on our facility in London using our own CO2. It was just small in the sense of, think about where wind and solar were 2 decades ago, where they were very costly, and they've come down in terms of the cost to build that infrastructure. And this is no different. We then looked at a 25 megawatt facility in Elmer beside an ethanol plant, and today are proposing at the 100 megawatt scale. And when we engage with various levels of government, people say, wow, that's got to be meaningful. We need not just one of these, we need hundreds of these across Canada if we're going to meet our goals that we've set as a country when we signed up for Paris, and as well as the corporations that have signed up for their own goals. And so this is just one sort of facility that's required across the country. The other piece of why methane? And so the reason why is that the natural gas pipeline it runs on methane, and if I tried to inject hydrogen in the pipeline, they probably wouldn't let me do it because it's not a molecule they're used to. And so methane can be injected into the TC Energy line nearby, as well as the Enbridge system, and then moved around the country. So our facility in London, we actually sell our renewable gas to Fortis BC, with City of Hamilton, as well as others that are looking for those zero carbon molecules. And so methane is a very interchangeable molecule with fossil natural gas, but it just has the environmental attributes associated with what we do. And so this just kind of gives you a sense of why we're making methane versus other products. And so here kind of gives you a sense of the inputs and outputs again, just kind of honing them down a little bit. And so industrial partners, there's industrial sources within the area that can provide us the CO2 to support us. And so that's somebody that would tap into to provide one of the inputs. The layout, so you can see this is on the old Abitibi facility. You've got the Northland Cogen plant to the left. You've got the rail tracks you can see along this corridor here. So we would have an electrolyzer building. This is where we would convert the electricity to hydrogen. We would have a series of storage tanks and methanation modules that would sit here. That would allow us to take the CO2 and the hydrogen to produce the methane. It would then allow us to inject that into the natural gas grid and sell that to utilities and corporations that are looking to buy that energy. And so to give some broader sense, here's the more regional area. So you can see the area that we're focused on. It gives you a sense of the overall site that's being redeveloped. The TC Energy line runs right along this corridor here underground. And so that kind of gives you a sense of what we're doing from a location within the city, or that we're proposing to do within the city. Our inputs be 100 megawatts in size. We would use about 500,000 gallons a day of water because we need to react the water to make the hydrogen and the oxygen. And we'd use about 275 tons per day of pure CO2 that is available for us to be able to make our product. That would produce about 1.5 million gigajoules per year. And so to give you an idea, the average Canadian home uses about 90 gigajoules per year, to give you an idea of the amount of homes that we would be providing, in theory, zero carbon methane. We would also have steam that could be used for attracting other businesses to the business park or the multimodal hub. And we would also have an oxygen right now that would be currently vented to the atmosphere unless we can find some other buyers to be able to work with that. And so we would have to go through proper permitting with the Ministry of Environment for air emissions, noise, things like that, stormwater, and so on and so forth. And those are things that we're quite well versed in and engaging with the province around proper permitting. But like I said, we always want to start on a local level and engage with yourselves. So if there's ever any questions about who we are and what we're up to, then we can be able to walk through that. And so I'm going to scroll back up to the top slide for a quick moment and show you, this is an example of what the infrastructure would look like. It's a little smaller scale, but you can see the building where the electrolyzers are housed. You can see the module in the back that's creating the methane, and you get a sense of a storage tank for the hydrogen and other infrastructure. So this is not sort of just on a back of a napkin. This has been done at scale and will continue to grow across North America as well as the rest of the world. So I'll pause there and happy to take any questions that anybody may have about what we're proposing.
Thank you, Brandon. And Brandon and Matthew, I'll open the floor. If we can get back to our, so I can see the counselors. There we go. Okay, so now I'll open the floor to questions, and I got Councillor DeRose up first.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. I was fascinated reading up on this. So basically, is it the money you need to start this up is going to come from different levels of government, I assume?
So private capital would be the main source, Councillor. However, we would look to look at the various programs, mainly at a federal level, to be able to support this. However, private capital would be the primary driver, us as well as other capital providers to build the facility and operate it for a longer term. Thank you. Are you closing the London plant, or is this just in addition to? It's in addition to, so this is a different style of plant than what we do in London. It's just making the same gas molecules, but the London plant would continue to operate and do what it does.
Okay, and how many, for the size plant that you're referring to, the world site, how many employees would you need?
Yeah, we're projecting about 25 full-time jobs. Those are high-paying jobs because of the type of plant that it is. And then there'll be support infrastructure for local millwrights, electricians, and others to be able to support the infrastructure. And those are operating jobs, not necessarily construction jobs.
Okay, thank you. And last question. So basically, what are you looking for today? Just to accept your report, or specific as to what your requirements will be from the city of Thorold?
Good question. So one, we've already kind of gone through zoning conformance and confirmed that we can be in the intended use. We had asked to present to you today to make you aware of what we're doing, so that all of a sudden, if we're got a press release or something about the project as we're kind of raising awareness, that there isn't this thing of what is going on in our backyard, we don't know anything about it. And today is to be able to facilitate a dialogue. No one's starting construction anytime soon. It takes a long time to go through the permitting. And so today is about building awareness so that, frankly, you've got a name and a face. And if anybody has any concerns or questions, happy to engage to walk people through what we're proposing.
Thank you for your answers. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor DeRose. I got Councillor Kenny. And then I got Councillor Hanley after that.
Yes, the new company here, were you going to use the water treatment plant that exists on site, or are you going to build your own?
It's a good question. We do need water, and we will have wastewater we're creating. It's really low strength wastewater. So we'd propose to utilize that for treatment of kind of blow down or condensate water that would come from the plant, is what we're proposing right now, but that has not been finalized. And so one of the things we're trying to understand is whether we use the existing permit to take water in the existing wastewater plant, or look at other infrastructure to be able to do that. But at the current time, we're not proposing our own wastewater treatment facility. It makes sense to use existing infrastructure wherever possible.
Okay, because you can't put the water back in the canal until it's treated.
Correct. Yep. No, it's got to be treated. No doubt about it.
So there's been no talks with the existing company about using their water treatment plant as of yet?
We have talked to them about the existing owner, about utilizing that. We shared some quality data, but I don't have a letter of intent or agreement to do that. But we have had conversations about repurposing that infrastructure to support the operation.
And the methane, when it's not being used by, say, I don't know if you're going to use Northland Power, I would imagine, selling it to them, are you going to burn that off, or how's that work?
So the methane we would put into the natural gas pipeline, so TC Energy or Enbridge's line. So it's not a bilateral deal with Northland. It is moving into the natural gas system, which then distributes natural gas to various homes in the area. We have to have a takeaway capacity. So it means you can't inject into a line that doesn't have sort of flow. And so the TC line has flow in it year round. It's a bigger line. And so that allows us to be able to sell that gas to the marketplace and make sure there's always a home for it. We do have to have proper safety devices on the site. And so there would be a flare there, so that for some reason, if it doesn't meet the specification for the pipeline or other reasons, we would need to be able to flare that gas because you need to be able to do that from an environmental and safety perspective. But that's pretty typical for the operation. So hopefully that answers that question. I'm happy to kind of expand on it as you'd like.
And it burns pretty clean?
Yeah, it does. It's natural gas. It's the same properties as the natural gas that's in your pipeline. It's in your furnaces. In that case, it's just it's from a renewable or lower carbon source.
No, but the methane is dirty, right?
The methane is pure methane. So we'll be 99.9% pure methane that we're injecting.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully, if you do end up there, that we use the water treatment plant there, because we do have some Thorold employees working there.
Fair enough. I'd love to.
Like Councillor Sentence.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
I just didn't want to. I don't want to sign up for things I haven't got agreed on, but we are exploring that. So thank you, sir.
Councillor Hanley, you're up next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to this, you've made a presentation to council. Are you wanting to do to present it to the public so the public can be engaged also? I know you're making a presentation to us, but our viewer, I could see, you know, the participants, whatever that may be viewing tonight, isn't that substantial? Are you looking to get out in the community of Thorold South that would be directly affected by it?
We absolutely will. What we're trying to do right now is go through the feasibility and due diligence stages right now, Councillor. And so we plan to engage locally with the community. We need to answer the proper questions around environmental type things, safety, and those things. And so today is one step on a long road to be able to work through that. And so absolutely we would do that.
Thank you very much. I might ask you also, in the construction phase, if it was to come to fruition, how many man hours are you looking at? How long will this job be for? 6 months, a year?
You're going to be about 18 to 24 months to build the infrastructure.
And then you'd be in that 24-month period ready to be up and active and start supplying the line?
That's correct. And then it would be 20+ year infrastructure. It's not like our goals of reducing greenhouse gases stops in 20 years. It's long-term infrastructure that we would build.
Are you ever considering in the future, thank you very much, are you ever considering in the future hydrogen for long-haul transporting?
We would love to be able to provide that. And so on the one slide, I said hydrogen could be there for long haul. It's just you got a chicken and the egg situation right now where there's growing interest on doing that, but there's not necessarily existing offtake to just make hydrogen. And so we would explore that in the future, and methane is the primary molecule we're making. And that's because we know the market will buy that today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there any further questions? Councillor Longo. And then I got you, Councillor Longo, then Councillor Neal. Go ahead, Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter. Very good presentation, very informative. I jotted down a number of questions, so I'm just going to go through them. Some have been asked already. Obviously, your process and what you're doing here will all be vetted by upper levels of government.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. In your first few slides there, you showed different things your company does, and one was you mentioned you convert waste. That is not what you're planning to do here, obviously. Okay, just wanted to make sure people were aware of that. You mentioned the zoning. Zoning would be, your company would be approved for the current zoning in that location?
That's what we went through a few months ago, and we submitted sort of the information on what we're planning to do and came back and got confirmation that the zoning was applicable for the intended use.
Okay, great. Just something that caught my eye. I think it's 500,000 gallons of water a day for this facility. I'm just a layman, but that seems like a tremendous amount of water. Is that attainable to draw that much water, or?
Yeah, so it's the equivalent of a golf course, Councillor, in terms of the water usage. I'm not saying that's not insignificant, but you're trying to make the H2O of water, you're splitting to get the hydrogen that's there. And so the existing site does have permits to take water. And so that'd be one area that we're exploring, to the earlier councillor's question of, we're working through that right now in the diligence phase to make sure we understand the flow, the costs, the nature of how we'd be able to do that. And so that's something that we're evaluating in this early stages of the project.
Okay, great. You mentioned excess gas could be flared off and so on, and it just, obviously there's a residential neighborhood in the vicinity. This facility would be considered a safe industrial operation that close to a neighborhood?
Yeah, so we have to go through proper, there's the safety side and there's the environmental permitting, and sometimes they overlap. And so on the safety side, we have to go through proper ESA, TSSA, and others. Enbridge does have a facility on a smaller scale in Markham that they are making hydrogen from, and it is near residential in those areas. But we need to go through from a safety side and make sure we comply with all relevant codes associated with that. And so that's a step in the process to being able to construct. The other one is we need to go and deal with the province around air and noise and stormwater and those types of permits. And when they do that, they take that into consideration on sensitive receptors in the area to make sure that everything kind of lines up. And so we would absolutely have to do that. And to the earlier councillor's question, that's when we have to go through public consultation to make sure if everyone's aware, everyone understands those types of things. And we just didn't want to be, frankly, spring up with an open house. And frankly, you guys are like, what are you guys doing and why are you there? And so this is kind of on that road, that consultation to make sure that everybody knows what we're up to and gets their views heard. And so this, like I said, we plan to do more of this.
Okay, that's good. That's comforting to know that somebody from your company will answer direct public questions if need be. That's good. There was another company that came to us a few months ago. Obviously, you probably know them, Char. Is there any way your two companies would work in synergy? Like, would your methane be potentially used if Char was in the same park doing their process? Is there any, shared resources, things that could benefit both of you if both came to fruition?
That sounds good. So we know Char very well. They're our tenant in London. We know the team very well that's there. We have talked to them about this project on whether we use their CO2 that would come off their process, any other shared kind of resources that were there. I'd say it's early days because they're working through, they're sort of more advanced than we are in terms of the assessment that's there. But absolutely, we think there could be some synergies with their operation. We also, with the production of what I'd say is low carbon steam, there's an ability to attract other businesses to the area that are trying to find spots to be able to build. And so very much with Char, but also looking at the other industrial use in the area, and even could be in the residential side on where there's synergies to be able to support things. And so we'll continue to do that.
Great. And I think my last question here, time frame. Councillor Hanley asked about time frame to construct. What's your realistic time frame to get to the beginning of construction? How much time do you need to get there?
Earliest to be 2025, be honest with you, because we have to go through system impact assessments with IESO and Hydro One. We've got to go through ministry permitting, and all those things need to be all done, including the public consultation, before we ever sort of go to construction.
Okay,
and so
great. Thank you.
That takes time.
Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Long. Go ahead, Councillor Neal, and then Councillor Wilson after that. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It was a very good presentation. The two things that just off the top are noise and smell, and you already have plants up and running. Have you had any impacts from the neighborhoods? And as Councilor Longo just mentioned, it's just across the road from where you're going to build is subdivisions. What is your response to the noise and smell aspect?
Good question. So on the smell side, there's nothing there. It's not a waste operation, so there's not the concern that should be there from an odor perspective. On the noise side, we need to go through and identify our motors and noise sources that were there and do that type of permitting and those reports earlier to make sure that we attenuate or make sure we manage that, because that's not convenient for anybody. I wouldn't necessarily want to be dealing with that myself. And so I totally understand where they come at from a personal side, and then from a permitting side, we absolutely have to go through to make sure that we comply with all guidance regarding that. So hopefully that answers your question, sir.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to the public meetings that will occur. We'll get more information on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, Councillor Neal just asked the two questions I had as well. So
That's good. Any further questions? Seeing none, Brandon and Matthew, I want to thank you for your presentation, and we look forward to seeing this process unfold and the different steps and the public consultation, and as you go through all your due diligence. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Okay. Up next, we go to motion to receive and file minutes or adopt recommendations of council committees and boards. Up first, I have mover Councillor Sentence and seconder Councillor Decker that council receive and file the minutes of the public library meeting. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Now minutes to endorse recommendations, Thorold Public Library Board meeting. Mover Councillor Wilson, seconder Councillor DeRose, that council adopt the recommendations contained within the minutes. No, wait. That contained within the minutes of the Public Library Board. That doesn't say that on there, but Go ahead.
12A was for the Thorold Public Library Board, and then 12B is for the Committee of Adjustment.
Yeah, but was there recommendations from the public library? Yes, that's what I mean. Okay, so the recommendations from the public library board. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And then 12B, Committee of Adjustment Resolution, correct? I had a mover, Councillor Neal, and a seconder, Councillor Sentence, that the Committee of Adjustment requests council approval for the 2021 Committee of Adjustment surplus up to $5,000 be placed in an incumbents reserve to be used for future costs associated with Committee of Adjustment application appeals to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Does there anyone want to speak to that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, and we move on to statement by councillors. Up first, I have Councillor DeRose. Increased fines for residential licensing, rental licensing. I got a mover, Councillor DeRose, and you have to get a seconder, and go ahead and read that. Where is Councillor DeRose?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, my computer froze. Is it statements by councillors?
That's correct.
Okay, I missed your whole last minute. Sorry about that, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, my first statement tonight, I want to request an increase for set fines for residential licenses, the people that aren't getting their licenses. I've heard a lot of complaints from residents. They feel that there's a lot out there, and I do too. I know of a lot out there. So here's what I'm asking my fellow councillors. The council requests the Director of Planning and Development Services to report back on the feasibility to increase set fines for residential licenses. This is for the people that aren't, that are kind of doing it illegally. They have a rental and they're not reporting it to the city and getting a legitimate license.
Thank you, but I have to ask the CAO, should that be Chief Building Official?
Yeah, that's CBO reports to the Director of Planning and
Okay,
Development
so
Services.
it's fine the way it
Yeah,
is.
that's right. Thank you.
Okay, so you're asking for a report, you're a mover, do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Hanley. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Decker, do you want to speak on that?
I was just wondering what type of increases Councillor DeRose looking at, and is it specifically for those who are neglecting to renew their licenses or trying to avoid paying their licensing fees? I think right now it's $500 to renew your license. I might be incorrect. Maybe Jason.
No, it's
No, you're right.
$500 for the first 2 years, $400 for the next 2 years, but this is not relating to the license, this is relating to fines. So, so he's asking on a report back on the feasibility of set fines. It's not about the license, it's about if you don't get the license and the fine system. Correct, Councillor DeRose?
Correct. And in answer to Councillor Decker's question, yeah, I believe right now fine is 500, and I am looking for a much higher increase. So I don't think 500 is a deterrent, and I think we have to get serious about this. If we're going to do it, let's do it. And I'd like to hear back from planning.
So they'll report back, and I'm sure they'll give us some recommendations. So, any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Councillor number 2, I think that should be done under a notice of motion. Okay.
No, that's fine, Mr. Mayor. That's fine.
Because that needs to be well laid out, and council have that prior to. So if you work with the clerk and bring a note, you just let us know under notice of motion, and then bring it forward at the next meeting. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'm just talking. My number 2 is appreciation of public works staff.
No, that's number 3. This is the number 2 on mine is.
My list, I'm sorry, I've got a different list. Okay, so you're talking about the gun issue.
Yes, I think you should do that under notice of motion.
Okay, can I do that tonight?
You can bring the notice of motion tonight, and then it'll come at the next meeting.
Okay, yeah, because I did want to speak a minute on that. Okay, so then I'll get to my last one. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you can remind me when that is.
That, we'll get you, don't worry, I got you marked down.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I think Councilor Decker is going to say something. I think we all do. I just want to appreciation, pat on the back for Public Works staff, Steve Santo and Sean and everybody there in the department. I had calls and I had to try to reach out to them and they were kind of going crazy. You know, we hadn't had a storm like that, a snowstorm like that in years and years. So I just, you know, I know they were getting pulled in different directions and I think they did the best they could. And all the calls I got after the fact were so appreciative. So thank you for trying to get everybody as safe as possible. I know it's ongoing and I mentioned to Steve today, get some rest for the next few days coming up.
Yeah, because we're going to get hit again. At least we're supposed to get hit again. You're right.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor DeRose. Councilor Decker.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councilor DeRose, I did want to thank the crew, Steve and the maintenance crew and Sean, for all their hard work over the last 2 weeks. I know there was a lot of snow that had to be removed and a lot of the sidewalks, you know, obviously had to wait. So thank you again. And, you know, thank you. I had some messages from residents thanking, you know, to pass along my thank you. One of the issues was the sidewalks. People don't know if they have to shovel the sidewalks or if the city does certain sidewalks. So thanks to the department and to Joanne and Karen, there is now a list of sidewalk plowed streets that the city does do, and it is available on the winter maintenance City of Thorold website. So if people do have any concerns or they're not sure which sidewalks the city does, there's now a list on the website. I think it's the time limit's 24 hours to try to have the snow removed, and it gets confusing sometimes. People want to get out there and walk. So I just want to say they were so quick to respond to some of the emails I had sent, and thank you again. And, you know, I just want to say to people out there, just be patient. You know, there was a lot of snow that fell, and, you know, the crew is doing an amazing job. And if we are going to get another snowstorm this weekend, be patient. They'll get out there and streets and sidewalks will be clean. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Decker. Councilor Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, on the same issue, great job, that's for sure. I know I made a couple inquiries through you, Mr. Mayor, and in an efficient, timely manner. The people were very appreciative of it and understanding that, as Councilor Decker said, that they were inundated with calls. If I could, though, through you, Mr. Mayor, we know that I received an email from a concerned citizen and seen it. If I could, through you, in regards to a post that was made in Thorold today that stated, while snow clearing efforts are underway, the city bylaw shovel their sidewalks won't be enforced, according to the city's manager of public works. Could that be addressed? Because to me, it can be addressed. I just want to make it clear. That concerns me because of the amount of calls that inundated because of the area of the student residences. And I can honestly tell you, even by my own residence tonight, there's sidewalks that still aren't cleared. Was this something that was supplied by the manager of public works? Could I, through you, is that a factual quote?
I will let him.
And how could it be addressed?
Yeah, I'll let him speak on it. He's here tonight. So Steve,
please,
our manager of public works. Go ahead, Steve.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Hanley. It was slightly taken out of context. It wasn't my intention to communicate that message about bylaw, not enforcing the sidewalk bylaw. Residents do have to clear their sidewalks in a timely manner. And definitely better communication between departments and residents moving forward is needed. The severity of the storm, during the discussion with the Road Safety Committee, was, you know, to try to ease a little pressure off of them because of the amount of snow that fell. So moving forward, We'll try to communicate better with the residents about the timelines that they're expected to clear their sidewalks.
That answer your question, Councillor Hanley?
Yes, thank you very much. If I could just elaborate first. So then in the future also, so I know the city, we have a list of sidewalks that we do. The residents after 24 hours, and obviously after the last storm we had, we don't expect them to do it in 24 hours. But if I could, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the appropriate staff member, we still have sidewalks in the city that aren't cleared. Do we just find the individuals, or is it a case of where the city, I had understood in the past, we actually have hired a private company and they go out and do the work and then we charge the homeowner? Because I bring this up because I just have elaborate a little further. People that have sidewalks that are on the side of their properties and the front of their properties. Many believe that they should only be responsible for the sidewalk that's in front of their property, and were given notices or may have been fined for not clearing the sidewalks that are on the sides of their properties. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Do you want to answer that, Steve, or is Jason?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hanley. Yeah, we're looking at all, as each storm event occurs, we're looking at improving our winter control policy, and we are looking at the bylaw. We do try to get out to the bylaw does enforce the sidewalk bylaw. Some of the sidewalks that aren't getting plowed, if we do have the staff and the equipment available, we will get out and do it based on the level of the storm. But yes, it's definitely something we need to address in the future, and we will definitely be updating our winter control policy. Hopefully we can get more residents on board with cleaning their sidewalks in a timely manner.
Jason's on. Jason, did you want to comment?
Thank you very much. If Jason may answer that, Jason, because, you know, hey, the city did a great job and everything. I know that you renovated to your office also, but just the timeline for expecting residents to possibly, even after a major snowstorm, reasonable amount of time.
Jason, did you want to comment?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. So the city's bylaw currently identifies that residents are required to clear their sidewalks that would be at the front end sides, like Councillor Hanley identified, within 24 hours. Given the severity of the storm that we just had, we are trying to be more lenient with that timeline. There isn't a specific timeline in mind, but as Steve had mentioned, we're going to try and work together between both of our departments so that we're not penalizing residents for not cleaning their sidewalks when the city hasn't been able to clear our own. So we're going to work together and try to come up with a opportunity to communicate that to residents better, as well as work on our own processes.
Thanks very much. That's great. Thank you.
Is that good, Councillor Hanley? Okay, thank you.
That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
And up next, I have Councillor Longo on Walker Sport and Ability Center. Go ahead, Councillor Longo.
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to make a comment on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Longo. It's my understanding that, although obviously from a moral perspective, we hope that our residents clear the sidewalk, but we can't find people and have it be enforceable to take it elsewhere, to be responsible to clean the city's property. That's my understanding, and I believe this council has had a legal opinion on that in the past. So I just wanted to state that. I don't know if staff wanted to comment on that. That's not to say that people shouldn't clean their sidewalk, but I just find it hard to believe that we would go find people to clear our property that's not their legal responsibility.
Is Jason there?
So through Mr. Mayor, I wouldn't be able to speak as far as the legalities behind it. I haven't seen a legal opinion identifying that individuals could not be made accountable for not clearing it. We do have a bylaw that requires it, but we will definitely review that, and in conjunction with the Public Works Department, we'll likely seek legal opinion for moving forward as well.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you probably recall, last meeting I brought up just a quick statement regarding the Canada Summer Games that we now refer to as the Walker Sports and Ability Center. I found out, which is great news. Councillor Kenny wasn't here, so I didn't want to go any further, but I see he's here tonight. Just wondering if you can give me an update on those questions. I don't expect them all to be answered tonight, but they weren't all from me. There are a number of questions from members of the public, and they continue to ask me, and I basically tell them I'll continue to try to get answers. So I'm just wondering if Councillor Hanley can, or sorry, Councillor Kenny can help me with a time frame when we can respond to those questions.
Go ahead, Councillor Kenny.
Yeah, every question that I was given by Councillor Longo was either, the answers are either on the city website if we have the answers, and if we do not have the answers, they will be put on the city website when we do get the answers. So they can go through the website, check for the answers, and if they're not there yet, that's because we don't have the answers. I can tell you that we'll be meeting again on Friday. It's getting very close to opening, and I'll let Jeff Holman finish.
Jeff, do you want to comment?
Only to say that there's a lot of things happening in the next couple of weeks with respect to the independent operator, the completion of construction, and doing this also under the umbrella of the provincial regulations that restrict the capacity of people attending this facility. So there's a lot of information on the website as well, and it's probably not packaged in a way that's easy to find all the answers you're looking for. If an update report is helpful to council, we could certainly do that. And I'll just offer that as a way to try and help kind of pull some of these loose questions together.
Okay, that would be good. Is that fine, Councillor Longo?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate that. And I understand staff's in a difficult position here because we don't have a lot of answers, but we have a lot of questions. And it's been quite a long time. It's been over 2 years since we've decided to move forward. We are moving forward. There's no question about that. But people have questions, and I'm at a loss to answers. And, you know, there may be some answers on the website, but as Mr. Holman says, they're very difficult to find answers to. And I would say that the majority of the questions I put forward, the answers aren't on the website. There's a lot of unknowns. I keep reading, and I'll just give you an example here. I keep reading minutes of meetings, and my understanding is the consortium took responsibility on January 21st. That's when substantial completion was, but trying to get an answer is very difficult. And I understand there's a lot of parties, a lot of politics going on here, but we've got quite an investment made, and people want to know when they can get in and use their new facility, because that's what it's all about, right? We're at a point where we're not turning back, and people want to get in there. And with things loosening up now and gymnasiums opening and things of that nature, we should be using that facility and getting our money's worth. So I'll leave it at that. I don't need another comment unless somebody wants to make one, but I would really appreciate we get some detailed answers to those questions as soon as we can.
Thank you. And Jeff's taken that under guidance, and he will put something together. And is that, Councillor Kenny, did you want to comment before we move on?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I understand what Councillor Longo's asking. I'll just give you an example. We were very close to getting it completed, and then emergency doors, there was a wait on those. I think there was a February 5th, Jeff, that they were talking about. They were supposed to be installed by. And then obviously you can't open a building without the emergency doors. There was a wait on them. So we heard that it's going to be February 5th, and once they're installed, they'll be ready to go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Hanley, go ahead.
If I could, for you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Longo, could you forward me the questions that you were asked or you presented to be asked? Councillor Longo?
Through you, Mr.
Just as
Mayor.
I have many questions too, and I don't want to be duplicating if I start asking questions myself.
Well, absolutely. Well, my intention was that I asked Councillor Kenny if he would, when he had the answers, if he could include the questions and answers in council correspondence so everybody would have them. But I'd be happy to share all my questions with all of council so everybody knows the questions that I have and questions that the community has. Because I think we should all be concerned about getting answers for people.
Thank you.
As Councillor Kenny just mentioned, a date of February 5th. It would be great if we had updates like that. That's the first time I heard that, and I know it's a moving target.
I just gave you one.
Okay, enough.
Thank you, Councillor Kenny.
Okay, enough. Let's be cordial, and those answers will be, Jeff will work on that. Okay, Councillor Longo? Okay, thank you. Okay. We're going to move on to a presentation, I think is next. Let me double check. Our delegation, Jill Croto, Physician Recruitment and Retention Coordinator, Regional Health Initiatives, Niagara Region Public Health. And she's going to give us a presentation up next. And Jill, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to council tonight. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Pleased to be here and for the delegation. I will just try and share my screen if I can.
You're up, Jill.
Okay, perfect. So I have a bit of a presentation with some data to support the report for Marco Marino. So just a brief introduction. My name is Jill Croto, and I'm the physician recruiter for the Niagara region. Some of the objectives of this presentation today, I just want to give you a little bit more information about the recruitment program itself, and a little bit of information about the landscape of primary care physicians here in Niagara, and then open it up for questions. So the physician recruitment program, I would work closely with all the municipalities to identify opportunities and assist with developing a workforce plan for the region. I have a comprehensive recruitment strategy that allows me to attend recruitment fairs across Ontario within the Departments of Family Medicine for the universities, as well as identified recruitment events across the country as well. So I would, oftentimes, I would participate in a collaborative marketing effort with other LIN recruiters, so Halton, Hamilton, Brantford. We have a very collegial working relationship, so it allows us to work together. So essentially, I would match physicians to the right opportunity in Niagara, just to ensure that there's the right fit and that we can retain these doctors. I'm also on the social committee for McMaster, and I also work individually with the family medicine residents here in Niagara, just to ensure that they are aware of the practice opportunities that are here, and just to ensure that they're well supported throughout their 2-year training in the region. I would work with incoming physicians internationally with work permits, assisting them with their licensing, relocation, and connecting them to some of the local municipal representatives for onboarding. I also manage a page on the Niagara Region Public Health website. It's a Find a Doctor page, so it's real time. As soon as a physician does start in Niagara, I would add them to that list, so people can find a doctor if they don't already have one. And I guess I would ensure that physicians are oriented and onboarded into the communities and are introduced, if they're looking for teaching opportunities, that they're linked with McMaster, with the medical societies here, local leadership, and then just really creating that sense of community with other physicians in Niagara. So something new that I've been working on just in 2022, we have a rebranding strategy that we're launching shortly within the next couple months, I would say. So a new logo, a new fresh feel for the program, just with all the marketing material. Kind of implementing a digital strategy just with COVID. You know, in the past we've had a lot of face-to-face meetings, haven't been able to do that. So, you know, Zoom meetings are important. So it's important to recognize that we have to come up with a different marketing strategy to market to physicians. And some of the slides moving forward, you'll see that a lot of our physicians have actually come from the UK, the US, and across the country. So just, you know, being that point of contact for people that are from Niagara, from Thorold, that want to come back to the community. So just giving them that point of contact. And then also to enhance the onboarding strategy, connecting with the municipalities, ensuring that we, you know, give them information on spousal employment, where their kids can do, you know, their activities, just making sure that their family as a whole is comfortable in the community. So this table represents the recruitment plan for 2022, and it's an aggressive one. So I have about 18 events that I'm planning, and they would represent the different university career fairs, some locally, and then a lot of them are across Ontario, you know, opening it up to a Buffalo event as well. And then some international ones over the border, the US and the UK. The highlighted green events are representative of a collaborative effort. So those are ones that I would partner with other municipalities that do have a physician recruitment policy and presence. So we would combine efforts and we would participate in some of those as a team. So this table represents, I actually received this report, components of this report quarterly from the Ministry of Health, but it does give us the number of physicians that are within each municipality and the enrolled patients that are attached to those doctors. When you benchmark that with the population, you can see that, you know, in some municipalities, there's a capacity issue. And for Thorold, for example, with the 11 signatory physicians, they have just over 19,000 patients rostered to those physicians. So in a 2016 census, and I recognize that the information, I mean, we're coming up with a new census data shortly, I guess this month, but in this situation, the city of Thorold actually has their physicians roster more patients than the population of Thorold. So looking at this graph, Thorold is in a pretty good situation with their physicians and the amount of patients that they're rostering. Noting as well that this number doesn't represent all the, obviously, the population of Thorold, but it does recognize that there are the residents that are outside of Thorold that are accessing the physicians within your city. So this chart, I have populated, so the census population in Niagara at that time, 444,000, number of physicians in each of those communities, which is inclusive of community health center physicians as well. So that number would be 253. Percentage of physicians that are over 65, over 70. And you'll notice I did sort this with the number of physicians that are suggested or doctors short. But the ministry it averages about 1 doctor per 1380 population. So it can kind of give us a gauge, an average practice size and you know, how many physicians that we are falling short here in Niagara. So within the city of Thorold, we can see that you're probably about one short. But we can also see from the ages of the physicians that the older doctors tend to have bigger practices just as time goes on. So there is a pretty good chance that if there's an older physician with a very large practice, you would probably need 2 physicians to replace that one. So this is just a snapshot just to have a look at the number of new physicians that are going into each of the municipalities and how many have left. You'll see that the City of Thorold has had 4 new doctors come in over the last 3 years and 3 that have retired. So you're still up by 1 with a turnover rate of about 23%, which is pretty much average and in the region at this point. So this pie chart actually represents the patient enrollment models within Niagara. It's a lot of acronyms, but I'll just make note here. The Family Health Organization at 40%, that's the model that the new residents, anybody coming into Niagara, the model that they are looking for. So this shows that 40% of the physicians currently in Niagara are in that model. 19% are in a family health network or a family health team, and 10% are in a family health team under a faux model. So those are really the capitated models, as they call it. So it's the model that the residents are trained in and that people are looking for. So we still have people are connected into a group with the majority of these. The CCM is a comprehensive care model. That's a solo practice. A fee-for-service is also a solo practice. And then the CHC is a community health center. So we really only have 10% of the population of physicians that are in a solo practice that they're not connected with a group. So just in terms of where we've seen successes in Thorold, so or in the region, the family health teams often draw the residents, new graduates, as they've been trained in these types of models. The family health organizations also offer an incentive for new graduates to join. Specifically in Dr. Zuliani's location, he was very connected with the medical school and the family medicine resident program, so he was able to attract physicians into his location. New spaces that offer low rent, that's also something that provides incentive, I guess, for physicians to come in to the region. If they have an electronic medical records, that's also very important. Physician offices that are paper charts, very difficult to find a replacement for that. And then if there's an existing roster of patients, a lot of physicians that are coming to me now are looking for practices to take over. So I would say that that's a pretty important, selling feature of a practice. So where are the new physicians coming from? So I did a snapshot over the past 3 years. 33% of the new physicians coming into Niagara, they actually come from the McMaster program. 26% are within Ontario, so more towards the GTA area, but outside of Niagara. 23% are from the US, 11% from the UK. We've actually had some physicians come in from Australia this past year, and then the last 3% is within Canada, so Alberta, Saskatchewan area. So just a summary, again, most new physicians are looking for a team-based family health organization or a family health network. Over 100,000 residents are seeking care outside of a physician who rosters patients. So for example, they could be using walk-in clinics, urgent care centers, emergencies, or seek their care outside of the region or not have that care at all. Thorold's physicians are enrolling more patients than the population of Thorold. So right now, there are no physicians accepting patients in Thorold. There's a couple in St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, and Welland. However, there are none in Thorold right now accepting new patients. And then the aggressive plan for recruiting physicians, but again, the physician demand outweighs the supply. And this is something that we've experienced across the country right now. I mean, everyone is in the situation. We don't have enough doctors that are coming out of our family medicine programs to meet the demands of our communities. And then the new events in 2022, they're focusing on repatriating the graduates, ensuring that the family physicians are onboarded successfully into our communities. And I will open it up to questions or comments.
Thank you, Jill, and I'll open the floor now for questions, and I got Councillor Decker up first. And can we go to full screen, please? There we go. Councillor Decker.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Jill, for your presentation. It was very informative and detailed. First of all, I wanted to thank you. I spoke with Alex from the Thorold Medical Clinic, and I know that they've been in search of doctors to recruit to the clinic there. She said you were very helpful with her and offered her a lot of great marketing strategies and ideas with renovating the building, which I understand that they'll be able to start with the renovations now that they're taking over the building. So thank you for that. She also mentioned that you were trying to get the city to provide some funding for furnishings for the offices, such as beds and computers, etc. And then she also mentioned that Thorold is one of the only cities in the region that doesn't provide some sort of funding. Can you elaborate or speak to that for me?
Yep, absolutely. So I think that my comment to Alex would have been, if there is funding available, then she needs to speak to the city. And then second, on the actual incentive policy, I think that's detailed in Marco's his report. There are a few municipalities who do provide incentive for relocation, for equipment, but it's actually, so Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, Port Colborne, Fort Erie, those would be some of the communities that would offer an incentive package, but that goes directly to the physician. So if they did have a physician coming into the community, they would be signing off on a return of service contract. So for example, 5 years return of service to the community in order to receive funding for equipment.
Thanks. And in reading that we're short one doctor, I find that a little bit hard to believe, and it, with the data and stuff. And you're right, older physicians had more patients. And I'll use an example. Dr. Pringle had over 3,000 patients. So when he retired, to try to get all those patients, a new doctor was nearly impossible. So, a lot of patients had to go out of Thorold to find a doctor, and, some people still don't have a doctor. So how, and perhaps maybe this is in Marco's update, which I did read, but there was a lot of reading, and it's, sometimes a lot to take in. How do we get to be part of the region with all the other municipalities? So is this a normal thing that, all the municipalities work together for recruitment? I'm not sure if you can answer that for me, or.
Yeah, Marco, are you okay if I answer that question?
Marco can answer it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'll put it up there to either of you.
So, I can certainly answer that. We do have a physician recruitment committee, and Marco has been included in on that. So moving forward, we're going through with quarterly meetings just in terms of an update. So if there's opportunities to, provide funding or support to some of the resident events, definitely Marco will be included in on that. It's some of the dinners for the residents would be just, a contribution towards the dinner. The more people that are involved, it's definitely, it makes it a little bit easier for everyone else. I would say for the most part, though, that the ones that do have a policy are participating in those highlighted events that I had in my report.
Great, thanks for your responses, and thanks again for the report, and thanks for helping them out. My understanding is that there's a possibility of a new doctor coming to the clinic sometime in the summer, and hopefully with the renovations underway, that there might be a third one coming. So thanks again for
Thank
for
you.
helping them out.
Let's try and keep the questions to the presenter because we got the report coming on after that. So please, can we keep it to questions? Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to the presenter. Thank you, Jill, for the presentation. I know we've talked about the Thorold Medical Clinic, and the word bonusing comes up sometimes. So my question is, if you're looking at a place and you have a completely renovated, up-to-date facility, would you try and recruit specifically for there to get doctors to come in and say, look at what we have, in particular in that place?
So if the clinic was renovated, it had an EMR, everything was updated in the clinic, I would, definitely I would promote that on behalf of the clinic or the pharmacy owner. It would be if it's a solo office, it's a little bit more difficult to recruit into because a lot of the new graduates or people that are looking for opportunity are looking to work in a team. So it's easier for a team to recruit more members into their team. It's a little bit more difficult to have that first person, hang their shingle in a solo office.
Well, I understand that, but at one point in time, there was a team of doctors in there, so it can support that. It has to start somewhere. So if it starts with one or two, then we would really appreciate it. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Marco, did you want to comment from before, or do you want to wait till the report comes?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to provide some clarification. First and foremost, with regards to the comment that was made about the majority of municipalities having an incentive program, as Jill stated, there's actually only 4 out of the 12 municipalities that actually offer an incentive at this moment in time, which is what is outlined in the report this evening. So I just wanted to provide clarification there. And myself and Jill have regular conversation. I also wanted to comment on that and the fact that we are coordinating with other municipalities, those that have incentive offerings at this time, and we obviously welcome those that don't have incentive offerings at this time if they want to be, part of that conversation. Looking more to collaborate on some of her outreach and events. As she stated, she has a very aggressive event schedule this year with over 18 events that she's looking at attending. I think it's more a responsibility on our part to put, a small incremental budget towards attending those events, because it's very important, as I've been reading and as I've been seeing in my due diligence, for a municipality to have a presence with the recruiter at these types of fairs and events, because it showcases our interest in wanting to collaborate with the doctor community and answer any of the questions that they may have. That's what's important to them, is making sure that they have an outlet and somebody that they can speak with, and knowing full well that if they need the support, that they can reach out to the municipality or to somebody like Jill, and that they know that we're on the same page and that we'll collaborate with one another to get whatever information pieces that they need.
Thank you, Marco. Councillor DeRose, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Jill, thanks for presenting. Marco, great report. And for those that couldn't handle the 8-page report, just go to I like what Marco wrote in his conclusion. And Marco, I agree with you 100%. And I'll just read what you wrote. Financial incentives make complement and help seal the deal under certain circumstances, but they're not the answer to sustainable attraction and retention of physicians over the long term. I agree with you 100%, Marco, on that. And as you said, a budget can go to supporting you guys to attend as many reach out situations that you can get to. And I think that's the direction to go. Great report. I read it over a couple of times. I learned a lot about what's going on in Thorold, and great research on it, Marco. I appreciate it. And thanks for your answer, but I agree with your direction 100%. You and Jill are the experts on this. And as you said, there's only 4 communities in the region right now that in the report are doing this. And I don't think that's the answer. Thank you.
Okay, is there any questions? Because then we'll move on to the report, okay? Okay, so we're going to move the report. CAO 2022-01 Doctor Recruitment Update. A mover, Councillor Decker, and a seconder, Councillor Sentence, and I'll turn it over to our CAO.
Through Mr. Mayor, Marco can.
Marco,
Marino,
you're going to run it? Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Marco. Marco's our Economic Development Manager, and he'll bring the report forward then. Go ahead, Marco.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, that council received the report CAO 2022-001 for information, and that council requests the mayor to correspond with regional council in order to consider budget allocation for the regional doctor recruitment program so as to provide incentives for physician relocation and attraction initiatives across the Niagara region. And that council requests the manager of economic development continue to work in collaboration with the regional recruiter in identifying and attracting physicians to the city of Thorold.
Thank you, Marco. So now, is there any further discussion or questions relating to the report? I don't see any. Jill, I want to thank you for coming. Before I go to the vote, I just want to bring up 2 points under the report. One is obviously, and it's probably the same for most municipalities, is the population number is way low to what it really is. But the bigger issue in the city of Thorold, which makes it unique, is that the city of Thorold, by its location, draws a lot of patients from outside of Thorold to the doctors that are within Thorold. So even though it may show like we need one doctor, those doctors are actually servicing a large patient base which aren't residents from the city of Thorold. And I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. And that's one reason why I think that number is extremely low, because of our unique location within the Niagara Peninsula. So, go.
I just comment on that as well. We also have to understand that we are next to Brock University. There are a number of Brock students that live in our community as well. They are not captured as our resident population. So the numbers that you're looking at it, 19,000 or the number that you have quoted, that could also include people coming from outside, but also you have to understand that sizable number of Brock students that live in our community too. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Again, Jill, I want to thank you, and Marco, thank you so much. So we had the motion, mover Councillor Decker, seconder Councillor Sentence. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And Marco, did you want to make a comment to end it off? I'm sorry I missed your hand there.
Not a problem. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to take, if I could, just a quick opportunity to thank Jill in front of all of you for the countless hours that she puts in to trying to recruit doctors within this region. She's been a great collaborator, and I look forward to working with her on a go-forward basis. And I think ultimately it's a team effort, as we've discussed in the past, and that's what we're going to continue doing, is working together to make this happen.
Thank you so much, Marco, and again, thank you, Jill, and that motion was carried. So thanks so much. Okay, we're going to move on to consent reports. I have a mover, Councillor Kenny, and a seconder, Councillor Sentence, that Council approve items 5A to 5C as presented. Are we pulling any items? I'm sure we are, but Councillor Neal, I knew that you'd want to speak to the first one. Does anyone else want to speak to anything else? Let's do that first one. Okay, Councillor Longo, did you want to pull a report?
Yeah, I'd like to pull 15B, please.
Okay, so we'll do, you know what? There's 3 reports. We'll do them all separate because that'll make life a lot easier. So we'll start with number 1, which is PWCS 2022-05, proposed leash-free dog park. Mover, Councillor Kenny, seconder, Councillor Sentence, and I'll turn this over to our Director of Public Works and Community Services to bring that forward. Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation. The recommendation is that council direct staff to finalize the terms of a land donation from Ed and Jane Lipscomb for the purposes of establishing a city-owned leash-free dog park located at Park Township lots 53 and 54, registered plan 59R 8256, Part 1, and registered plan 59R 7750, Part 1, Beaver Dams Road. And 2, that staff prepare a report outlining the design details, project budget, and construction schedule for council's consideration.
Thank you, and I'll open the floor to Councillor Neal. Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and it's a great opportunity. I worked with a family for the last couple of years regarding their property, and although they tried to donate it elsewhere, it didn't come to fruition. And when Jane Lipscomb saw the dog park proposal from council, she said, that's where I want to donate that property. So the Griffith family have decided to donate this property for a dog park. And I'd like to thank them for doing that. David Griffith, who they would like to see the park named after, has been part of this community and been involved as a naturalist, environmentalist over a number of years. He was on the original committee for the other park, and I think it's only appropriate that it be named after him.
Thank you very much, Councillor Neal, and Councillor Kenny, you have your hand up, and then we'll go around. I got other people. Don't worry, we'll get to you. Go ahead, Councillor Kenny.
Yeah, just one question for Council Neal, if I could, and that would be, I know Rosaire and the Mel Swart group didn't want a dog park anywhere near there. They're all right with this? To answer your question, yes, they are, because it's not in the Mel Swart Park. It's across the pond, I'll call it, on one of the outcrops along Beaver Dams Road. So it's not near the park, so to speak. Well, okay, it's near the park, but not close, no concern of theirs? No. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I had Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just a question to Curtis, writer of the report, Curtis Dre. I see the budgetary status. Is that just a one-time number? Is that a yearly? Can we be more specific? Because it says currently estimated at 20,000 just for the legal expenses to get this looked at. So is that what's going to happen? And then you'll come back to council with some with a more concrete plan in place? Because it just seems kind of once again, to me, it's a lot of unanswered questions. If you can help us out, thank you.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So that's correct, Councillor DeRose. So basically what we're going to do is come back with a formal design and a construction estimate for council consideration. That number was previously approved in capital budget of 175. And to do the legal portion of the turnover of the land, that would be the $20,000 that we're referencing, but we will come back to council with additional reports giving updated numbers and construction estimates.
Yeah, that'd be great if we can have all those numbers when you come back. That'd be awesome. And just like a yearly, I'd like to know what the yearly budget will be going forward, in addition to the setup. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeRose. I had Councillor Longo. You had your hand up, Councillor Longo? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just be quick here. I'd like to thank the owners, the Lipscomb and Griffiths family. This is fantastic. As most of the council will know, I've asked about dog parks for the last 7 years. I saw it in the budget this year, and I didn't want to say anything in case any cat owners were listening. But I'm glad the money stayed in the budget, and I look forward to seeing this completed. I think it's going to be a great location. I know most people would maybe prefer it somewhere closer to the center of town, but I think given the fact the land's donated and just where it's located, I think it's going to be fantastic. So great news for Thorold.
I couldn't agree more with you, Councillor Longo. And also, across the street is future potential with our rails to trails, because we own the rail line that is on the opposite side of the street. Councillor Sentence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, thank you very much to the families that donated this. Thank you to Councillor Neal. Great work on finding this spot. I agree with Councillor Longo. You might want it downtown, but when it gets busy, you might not want it downtown. So I think this is a really good location to have as a natural setting. So great work for everybody. And thank you, Curtis, for the report.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Sentence. Councillor Hanley, go ahead.
Yeah, I echo the other councillors. It's a great location, though, just after the pond, as Councillor Neal said, and just before we would refer to as Stock 5. As you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, the rails, the trails across the street, not only the Bruce Trails just down the close to it also. It's a popular spot for people walking their pets already. It's a great Lake Gibson view, you might say. So and the donation of the land to Liscombe and the Griffiths family other councillor mentioned is great gratitude to the citizens of Thorold, and we can make the best of it. I think, and I think it's a great landscape type location and great for the public.
Thank you, Councillor Hanley. Anyone else? Okay, I just want to thank staff for getting us to this point, and Councillor Neal, because I know Councillor Neal did a lot of work, and between Councillor Neal and staff getting us to this point, I want to thank you, and we look forward to the staff report. So let's take this to a vote now. I had a mover, Councillor Kenny, and a seconder, Councillor Sentence. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. PWCS 2022-09 request for tender 2021-502C 2001 ice plant replacement. I have a mover, Councillor Sentence, and a seconder, Councillor Kenny, and a seconder, Councillor Sentence, and I'll turn this over to our Director of Public Works and Community Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that Council of the City of Thorold award request for tender number 2021-52CS 2001 regarding Community Arena's ice plant replacement to Black & McDonald Limited at a contract price of $918,900 HST excluded. And two, that the contract administration services be awarded to DEI Consulting Engineers at a contract price of $19,800 HST excluded. And three, that staff be authorized to spend up to the full amount allocated for this project in the approved 2022 capital budget. And four, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the necessary agreements and contracts.
Thank you, Jeff. And now I'll turn this over for questions. I know Councillor Longo wanted to bring this forward. Are you up first, Councillor Longo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the appropriate staff member. Just a couple quick questions. This new ice plant will be just primarily for the Doherty Arena, I take it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Okay. And I'm just wondering, I remember hearing from former staff members, the ammonia issue was huge, and we're going to satisfy a huge safety issue there. But with the new system, do we anticipate saving a lot of money in terms of utility costs? Are they much more efficient nowadays as opposed to the old ones?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, that would be a safe assumption that they're highly efficient compared to the older equipment. It's just like buying a new refrigerator at this point. The Energy Star, not to say that these are Energy Star, but yes, they would be significantly more efficient. We'll have to see if that's true once it's in, but there's going to be factors such as the insulation in the building and the yearly temperature. There are factors that play into that to see how long the plant runs, but overall it should be much more efficient.
Okay. And this work is going to start when?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as soon as the ice comes out, so call it the first week of April, and is anticipated to go to approximately Labor Day.
Okay, so will that mean that both arenas will be out of commission for the summer, or like the entire facility will be closed to the public?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So we do need the staging area, and the way that the ice plant's currently set up is the main lobby is the actual access into the ice plant. In behind the trophy cases are the double doors that we need to open up to access the space to essentially do the demolition and the rebuild of the walls that are required to make it meet code.
Okay, great. Thanks for the answer.
Thank you, Councillor Longo. Councillor Kenny, go ahead, and then Councillor Neal after that.
Yeah, after reading the report, as it said in the report, the job was going to be completed by September. I'm just wondering if minor hockey and the kids are finished before April 1st, is the company able to start before that so that we can guarantee ourselves that it's going to be completed by Labor Day?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so that is the intention. As soon as that ice goes out, we're going to get them in there to start. If there's any works they can do before the ice comes out, we'll be looking at that as well. But again, because we don't have any drawings of the building, because it is so old, we're anticipating some surprises along the way. So we're hesitant on that to commit to the Labor Day, but that is the target, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Neal.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just
quick question on number 3 recommendation. 1.5 million has been allocated to this project, and it states that staff be authorized to spend up to the full amount allocated for this project in the approved capital 2022 capital budget. What are we going to spend the other $600,000 on?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so we hope not to spend it, but as I mentioned, there is no formal drawings of space. So as we dig and knock out walls, we anticipate we're going to come across some surprises, as well as some additional safety equipment. So when we tender this equipment, we're running a spec of a standardized plan. But there's going to be, each system has its individual specifications for safety, add-ons that we can look at too as well to make it accessible remotely. Emergency ammonia dumps, so we can put a tank up on the roof of the arena, so if there ever is a leak, it would suck the ammonia up to the roof. There's certain things like that that each one of these companies offer differently. So we'll look at that and move forward quickly, but if we have permission to spend the full amount of the budget immediately, we don't have to take a report back to council and delay the project. We can make the decision on the fly and proceed quickly.
So you'll only spend it if you have to, in other words.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any further questions? Okay, I had a mover, Councillor Kenny, and a seconder, Councillor Sentence. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 15C, CC 2022-09, Council Correspondence for February 1st, 2022 meeting. Mover, Councillor Kenny, seconder, Councillor Sentence. I'll turn this over to City Clerk Joanne Hyde to read.
Sure. The report is that the city clerk is requesting approval for council correspondence to be received from January 19th to January 31st.
Thank you. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
I'd like to just pull the one for the Front Street mural brought forward by Dale Ohm. And I like that referred to the Tourism Committee for further consultation as the Royal Bank is being redone. And we want to make sure that that mural doesn't get impacted on that, and that maybe we revamp it because it is getting in bad shape.
Should, is it the Tourism Committee that should look at that, or is it Public Works and Community Services? My question on the mural, I'm not sure. But I know the mural needs some work, and what's the best way to handle that? Jeff, can you respond to that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe it would, we'll collaborate amongst ourselves here at staff. It could fall under community services. The only issue really is who owns it, and then once we get that sorted out, we can move ahead with the necessary repairs and storage.
Could you work with the BIA? They might know, and then as well, Dale's quite aware. She said she'd be a resource, any help she can give on that. But the mural needs work, so I was wondering between us and the BIA if we could come up with a plan. And does that sound okay, Councillor Neal?
I think that's excellent, yes.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone else, I seen someone else had their hand up. Go ahead, Councillor DeRose, sorry.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question to the clerk. We received correspondence from Tom Marakis, the mayor of Aurora, asking for a motion of support to dissolve the Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT. I'm just wondering why that wasn't in our correspondence. Is there a reason? Because we did receive that email from him. I think two of them.
Sure, through the mayor to members of council. That actually goes through the Friday reports out to council for resolutions from other municipalities. So that will probably be coming out this Friday.
And then if
so for the next meeting we'll be able to discuss that?
Well,
that's right.
When you
perfect. Thank you so much.
Well, it's one step further. When them resolutions come out, you can contact the clerk, and if you want to move a resolution or you want to support a resolution, you can ask that be put on for the next council meeting, and then it'll come up early, under motion to support there. It'll come up in that area. So.
Yeah, I would like that one brought forward next meeting. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll make note of that, Councillor DeRose. Anyone else? Okay. I had a mover, Councillor Kenny, and a seconder, Councillor Sentence, that council receive and file the items listed in the city clerk's report. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Discussion reports. PWCS 2022-07 City Hall security cameras. Mover, Councillor Longo, seconder, Councillor Sentence. And I'll turn this over to our Director of Public Works and Community Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that the Council of the City of Thorold approve emergency installation of one additional security camera and a doorbell at City Hall in the amount of $2,000 HST excluded. And two, that $2,000 HST excluded be funded from the municipal land and building reserve.
Is there anyone who wants to speak to that report? Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Yeah, I just wondered, Jeff, is that being, through you, Mr. Mayor, is that being tendered, or is it just what you're expecting the cost to be?
Mr. Mayor, I'll ask Curtis to answer that question.
Go ahead, Curtis.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So we're going to be doing that with in-house staff. So the IT department's going to be doing most of the work on that. They'll go out and purchase the camera and then install it into an existing system. So it'll be done for the most part in-house.
Yeah, I'm only stating that not to be a cheapskate, but it's kind of excessive for one camera. We had 5 cameras put in at our house for $2,300, all hardwired. So I'm just hoping they keep that in consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeRose. Any further questions? Seeing none, I had a mover, Councillor Longo, and a seconder, Councillor Sentence. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PWCS 2022-08 Recreational Trail Bylaw. I have a mover, Councillor Decker, and a seconder, Councillor DeRose, and I'll turn this over to Jeff.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that the Council of the City of Thorold review and approve the proposed recreational trail bylaw as presented.
Okay, any speakers or any questions to that? Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
Yeah, there might be a couple of, maybe it's within the bylaw itself, but segways being one, hoverboards being another, and motorized bikes, bikes that you can ride, and then when you need the extra juice, you have the electricity in order for that to happen. Is that included in the exemptions, or what cannot be put on the pathways?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, currently the trails we're referring to are recreational trails, which are the paved trails, and they are included in the not authorized in such as motorized vehicles.
Because the segways were allowed over the last couple of years going up and down our part of the Welland Canals Trail.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Mayor, maybe Jason Simpson, I know he helped me out with that bylaw. What are your thoughts on
that? Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't really have a comment at the moment about it. I believe that my understanding is that they would not be permitted as the bylaw is written, but we can certainly, if council wishes, we could certainly bring this bylaw back and review it again.
So the three
again at next meeting if that's needed.
So the 3 items that Councillor Neal brought up were segways, electric bikes or motorized bikes, not mopeds or that, motorized bikes. And what was the third one? Bikes. What was the third one?
Hoverboards or hoverboards, however you want to see it.
What's a hoverboard? See, I don't even know what that is.
It's a motorized skateboard.
Okay, so can we look at those 3 items and address it? I need some.
Could I add one more item? And part of the bylaw is horses. And because I was on the the regional committee to put in the Welland Canals Parkway, and we had equestrian people on the committee, and I wouldn't want horses going up and down our particular recreation trails. So I think we would have to take a look at that again, please.
Okay, so those items, so I need someone, because Councillor Neal spoke to it, I need someone to refer this back and bring that report. Councillor Longo, do you want to refer it back to staff?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor.
And a seconder to that? Councillor Sentence, okay, there's no debate on that. All those in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Okay, so we'll refer that back, they can address those issues and bring the report back. Okay? PWCS 2022-10 City Hall Parking Lot Resurface. I had a mover, Councillor Wilson, and a seconder, Councillor Hanley. And Jeff, busy night, you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that the council of the city of Thorold receive this report for information purposes and approve the funding for the City Hall parking lot resurfacing from the 2021 City Hall facility general budget adjustment in the amount of $27,602.47, HST excluded.
Thank you. Any speakers to that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, that is carried. Okay, under notice of the motion, I got Councillor Sentence and then Councillor DeRose. This is where we'll bring up the other issue. Councillor Sentence, you wanted one, what did you want? I'll leave that for you to work with.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I would like to bring forward a notice of motion as soon as possible or at our next meeting for a report on our cooling and heating centers. And if I could just expand on that for a second, I'll tell you why. I was hoping staff could bring forward something with cost, staffing, locations, and to have a more reasonable time and place instead of our 10 to 5 time frame that we have, and not necessarily rely on arena or library staff. If they aren't available, then we close down. My opinion is we shouldn't be kicking people out at 5 o'clock when the sun's going down and it's only going to get colder. And we should have a plan with the region that even when we do close down, that we have some way to facilitate people to an overnight stay that they can go to even when they leave our facilities. And just to have better communication to say, this is what we're having and this is what we're doing, come here if you have to. I guess what I'm saying is something more concrete that just says, there's no phone calls that have to be made at a certain temperature. This is what happens. This is where you can go. And this is the way we're going to run it. I know we have something in place. It's not anybody's fault. I would just like something more comprehensive that's concrete in place. And this is what people can do as they go through the night, or if it's the heat, then they go through the day. And that would be what I would request from staff.
So you work with the clerk on that, and that'll come forward next meeting, okay? And Councillor,
thank you.
Thank you so much. And Councillor DeRose, you wanted to bring, you're going to bring a notice of motion next meeting regarding, where am I here? I'll let you, go ahead. You want to bring a notice of motion for support for increased fines for firearm infractions, correct?
So I'm not going to do it tonight. I'll bring it next meeting, you're saying?
Yes, work with the clerk, put it together and bring it at the next meeting, okay? And that's what you wanted, right? Support for increased fines for firearm infraction. Am I correct? That's what you're going to bring forward.
Yeah, and I'll be able to discuss it next meeting?
Yes, you will. You'll work on that with the clerk, and then you'll be able to discuss it at the next meeting, okay?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Kenny. Councillor Kenny, your hand's up.
Yes, I know. I'm going to speak now. I have a bit of a problem waiting till the next meeting for Councillor Sentence's notice of motion. Is there anything we can do? We're talking about a warming center. It's February 1st. We're going to wait 2 weeks. Is there any way we can move on this? I'm thinking like we're way behind the times. as far as I'm concerned in this. Like, to close the library at 5 o'clock and tell people they have to leave and put them out in the cold. Like, we should be opening the arena overnight, putting a casual there. I think we only need one. And if the person has a problem, they just call the police. But we have to open something at night. We can't wait till February 14th or whenever our next meeting is. I think we should act on this tonight.
So you think it's time?
Why in February would we wait 2 weeks?
So I'll ask the clerk, so we'll have to waive the procedure. So can you guide me to make sure it's done properly? So what do we do?
Sure, we just would need, through the mayor to members of council, we would just need a motion to waive procedures to allow for a notice of motion for tonight's meeting as it's of urgent nature.
Okay, so I got a motion from Councillor Kenny and a seconder from Councillor Hanley that we waive the procedure bylaw so we can bring this forward tonight, a report on the warm and cooling stations. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. So now we can bring it forward, and then you can ask what you want, Councillor Senton, and then get staff to act on that. What you spoke to, correct? You want staff to?
Yeah, that's correct. Or any input from any other councillors as well. I did say, as soon as possible. So I like this. I just wanted to give staff a chance to build something, concrete that we have in place. So
yeah.
Yes.
Councillor Wilson, go ahead. Speaking to that, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad that we're waiving the procedural bylaws to bring this forward now. I agree to have to be open past 5 o'clock, even if we had something overnight, like Councillor Kenny said. My only concern is that we most definitely have to have more than one staff member there. That's for sure, just from a safety standpoint. Because if something did happen, something aggressive there, one employee is not enough, especially if they're involved in it involuntarily, then they wouldn't be able to call the police. So that would be my concern, that we definitely would have to have more than one employee there, and then obviously have situations or plans in place so that if something were to happen, that they could be saved while at work, for sure. But I'm definitely, I do agree. I think we should have something in place to make sure people are warm, and we do need to do it as soon as possible. In fact, I think the next 2 days it's going to drop to like -17. If the weatherman's still saying the same thing, I'm not sure, but
okay.
So that's my 2 cents.
Councillor Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it is going to get cold after the snow on the weekend. And the thing is, we have to have a time allotment here. Obviously staff just can't make it. I don't think we can make a direct decision tonight. This is what we're going to do. So we're going to have to call a special meeting then, I would surmise. So can we put a time frame, like get in hold with some municipalities in Niagara region, see what they do, and expect to be back, say, by the end of the week? Is that what we're looking at? I know Councillor Kenny's makes a good point and that stuff. It's only going to get colder in February, but we need to get something forward. I know we don't want to wait 2 weeks, so we could put a time frame on it tonight. Would it be?
I'll ask staff that question. I know one thing that's different now than before when we used the library, that staff can look maybe at utilizing longer hours, but I'll ask Jeff to answer that.
Yeah, so this is something that we've been wanting to do, but to be quite honest, we've had zero interest in anybody wanting to take advantage of this. Maybe it's because of the hours that we offered it, and we'll need to look at extending the hours possibly at the coldest times of the night and day, and likewise in the summer. We can move fairly quickly on this. There will be some costs associated with this. And then the other thing we have to think about too is the requirements for screening for COVID, so that we're in compliance there. So there's a couple of things. They're not major hurdles. There's some things we can kind of work out. And if the intent is to have something in place, we can implement it as quickly as possible. You may want to give us direction in the form of a formal motion, though.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Formal motion, Councillor Kenny.
No, I wasn't raising my hand for a formal motion. What I hear what Jeff's saying. There might not be an appetite for anybody, but I'd rather have it open for the whole week and nobody show up, then one person frees outside in our city. If nobody uses it, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they're going elsewhere, but at least it's available. And we know that it was available if something were to happen. On the COVID thing, I think we might have to get some direction because let's be honest, we're dealing with people that are out on the street. And I mean, if somebody were to show up and they don't have their COVID shots, are we going to tell them they can't, if it were at the arena, are we going to tell them they can't come in? So we might have to get some direction there.
Thank you. And Councillor Hanley, did you have your hand up there? Go on.
No, I was just saying his answer in regards to the staffing in that. I was just going to mention that regard. We need more than one, as Victoria said, because it's a health and safety issue. You have to have 2 employees at minimum.
Okay. So go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. So I would like to make a formal motion then, if I'm still able to do that.
Go ahead.
I'd also like, what's that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want some clarification because I do believe maybe through the CAO that there is a program where we could facilitate them to the region if it's an overnight stay. So it may not be that we need our staff the whole time, but there could be a, cooperation between us and the region where they have the facilities for overnight stays, where they stay with us for a certain amount of time, and then we help them get to someplace overnight. Maybe the CAO could elaborate on that for me.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we will be in touch with Niagara Region. They have a whole community services department, looks after homelessness. They look after a number of other community benefits from that standpoint. Staff will collaborate with the region. So what we can actually do is, if we can have an arrangement that once we somebody is there with us and has to stay at a longer duration at night, we connect with the region and then we can transfer them over to a regional facility if they have that. So certainly staff will look into that as well. And so it's not that we may have to provide a stay overnight for them. If region has those kind of facilities, we'll collaborate with them and then transfer it over to them. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Then can I put a formal motion in?
You sure can. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to put a motion in to ask staff to, as soon as possible, implement what we've asked tonight.
Okay, and do you have a seconder for that? I got Councillor Decker. Okay, okay. So we got a mover and a seconder that staff implement the request of the warming in this warming cooling station. In this instance, it's warming. Is that good with you, Jeff? Can you look after that? Do we need to come back together, or you just get something in place and implement it, council, or is council good with that?
Mr. Mayor, I think the direction is clear. If you'd like, we could report back to you either through a memo or a subsequent report outlining what steps we've done to deal with the cooling centers, the heating center. The cooling centers would need to take a little bit more time.
Yeah, and that's fine. So we're going to do that. Is everybody good that Jeff will send a memo out and then we'll have a report back at the next meeting? A wholesome report or more wholesome report, but Jeff will send a memo out. Is the council good with that? I'll ask that question. Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Goodness, Mayor, I see Chief Dixon's there. Maybe he wants some input there. He's on the screen in regards to this.
I'll ask him. Chief Dixon, did you want to comment?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to council, I just want to make everybody aware that it's my understanding that the region itself does not have their own warming center. They leave it up to the municipalities. They each do warming centers within the municipalities. Not every municipality has a warming center. I do have the contacts with Kathy at Community Services within the region who works diligently through this process. We can definitely reach out to her to get some input from her as to where we may be able to go with this type of thing. We also have to be cognizant of the training of our staff dealing with these individuals. There is certain types of training that is involved with dealing with this particular situation, which I can also get clarification from her as well on that. So I just want council to be aware there's a little bit more in the background that we'll need to do to make sure we do it safely for our citizens. But we can definitely talk to these people to get more direction.
And can you work with Jeff on that, Terry, please, or Chief Dixon? Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so what's going to happen? Chief Dixon's going to work with Jeff. They'll look at what they can do. They'll send a memo out, and then we'll talk more at the next meeting. What's transpired, where we're at, if we made any progress, what's going on. Is everybody good with that? Okay, so that was the motion. The motion was from Councillor Senton, seconded Councillor Decker. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. Now we're going to bylaw. Is there? Are we done there? Okay. Bylaws. First reading of the bylaws. Moved by Councillor Wilson, second by Councillor Hanley, that leave be given to introduce the following bylaw. Bylaw 09-2022. And that the same now be read a first time. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Final reading of the bylaw, moved by Councillor Wilson, seconded by Councillor Hanley, that the bylaw just read a first time be read a second and third time and do pass, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay. I need a mover and a seconder to go into closed session. Can I get a mover? I got a mover, Councillor Neal, a seconder, Councillor Decker. That council move into closed session at 8:51 p.m. to discuss matters related to solicitor-client privilege and update. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So what I'm asking you now is that you log out and log in under your closed session